Chosen one, have you ever felt a moment pierce your life so deeply that you couldn't tell if it was fate or a message from something greater? What if I told you that right now this isn't an accident, this isn't a coincidence? This is heaven colliding with your ordinary day, reaching straight through the noise of your world just to get your attention? Pause for a second and look at your left hand. Really look. Do you ever wonder if there's something different about you? Something unexplainable? Something marked and sacred beneath the surface that no one else sees? Today, I'm not here to comfort you with vague inspiration. I'm here to interrupt the narrative you've settled for and awaken you to the truth you've always suspected. You are not ordinary. You are chosen. There's a mark, yes, a real, divine imprint that sets you apart. And no matter how many times you've tried to hide in the crowd, heaven keeps calling your name, keeps reminding you that destiny is branded on your life. Don't mistake this for hype or fantasy. This is the Creator's own disruption, a holy interference, because you are one in a million, set apart not by your works, but by His divine signature. Maybe you felt invisible or doubted your purpose, but let me be clear. God does not make mistakes, and you listening right now is a direct result of His orchestration, not chance. That something different you've sensed is real, more real than the limits the world has put on you. More real than the fear that whispers you'll never rise above your past. The Bible says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Jeremiah 1-5 Nevi. Do you realize what that means? You were on heaven's mind before anyone knew your name, and the mark on your left hand is proof of a covenant that stretches back to eternity. Why the left hand? Because in ancient times, the left hand represented what was hidden, protected, reserved for special blessing. And now heaven is pulling back the veil, exposing what the enemy tried to keep secret about you. Can you feel it? There's a surge of destiny moving through your veins. Every scar, every setback, every silent prayer has been leading to this divine intersection. I'm not asking you to believe blindly. I'm challenging you to see with spiritual eyes. Isaiah 49:16 declares, "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are ever before me." You are literally inscribed into the memory of God. When you doubt your worth, when shame tries to silence you, look at your hand, see the mark that is more than skin deep. This isn't about pride or proving anything to the world. It's about stepping into the truth that you were created for more, for purpose, for overflow. The ordinary can no longer contain you. What will you do with this moment? Will you push it aside, letting life numb your sense of the extraordinary? Or will you finally admit that heaven is calling you by name? Let me ask you again. If everything in your life was building toward this second, how will you respond? Will you ignore the interruption of God, or will you rise and claim your identity as the chosen one you truly are? What would you do if you suddenly realized that every detour, every delay, every heartbreak you've endured was not just random suffering, but a setup for something sacred? Would you dare to believe that you are living in a prophetic interruption? That heaven itself has orchestrated every twist and turn to bring you to this very crossroads? Right now, you stand at the threshold of revelation, and I must ask, can you feel the urgency building in your spirit? This isn't the gentle tug of a casual self-help speech. This is the sounding of a trumpet in the invisible realm, calling you to wake up and claim your true inheritance. Before you rush past this moment, let me challenge you to pause. Feel the weight of the atmosphere shifting around you. God's hand is upon you, and the mark on your left hand isn't just a rumor or symbol. It is the living evidence that His promise of abundance, health, and spiritual victory is irrevocable. Have you grown numb to the idea that breakthrough is possible for you? Do you secretly wonder if other people get miracles while you're left behind? Or are you willing to let faith rise and believe that heaven is about to pour out blessings so wild, so unexpected, that it will rewrite the story you've told yourself about lack and limitation? The Creator of the universe is not distant, not silent, not waiting for you to clean yourself up. He is stepping into your reality right now with arms wide open. Psalm 145:18 declares, "The Lord is near to all who call on Him, to all who call on him in truth. That nearness isn't a metaphor. It's the raw, electrifying presence that invades the room when you dare to believe that your life can shift in an instant. If you have ever felt overlooked, unworthy, or stuck, hear this. Your delay has been a divine appointment, not a denial. There is a reason you feel the nudge to keep listening. It's your spirit recognizing its own name in the mouth of heaven. This is more than information. It's a summons to alignment. I'm inviting you, not just as a listener, but as someone whose story is about to be rewritten, to stop, breathe, and allow your heart to wake up to what's really happening. Like the ancient Israelites crossing through the impossible waters, you are standing on the edge of a new reality, but you must choose to step forward. Will you subscribe to more of the same disappointment? Or will you say yes to the invitation of the divine, to join a movement of chosen souls awakening to their purpose? Don't just click away. Declare your intent. Mark this moment. Let the world and the spirit realm know. I'm ready, I'm called, and I will not miss my blessing. Leave your 999, not as a gimmick, but as a prophetic act, a symbol that you are aligning your life with God's perfect plan. As you do, feel the current of destiny gathering strength beneath your feet, pulling you into the flow of heaven's purpose. The question remains, are you willing to respond to the invitation? To say yes to the revelation that your life is about to become unrecognizable, overflowing with purpose, favor, and the tangible nearness of God? Or will you let this holy interruption pass you by? Why do you keep returning to that strange ache in your soul? That sense that there is something in you set apart, unexplainable, burning quietly beneath the surface. What if that discomfort is actually a holy signal? God's way of pulling you aside, whispering that you are not meant to blend in, but to be unmistakably marked? Pause and really look at your left hand right now. Do you see anything? Maybe you don't see a visible sign, but deep within, you sense a pressure, a knowing, a calling that the world cannot erase. The mark on your left hand isn't about outward appearance. It is a spiritual beacon, a divine signature, proof that heaven has written your name on its palm and will not let you slip away into anonymity. Isaiah 49:16 proclaims, "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are ever before me." Do you feel the weight of those words? You are not lost in the crowd. You are carved into the very memory of God, set apart for a destiny bigger than your background, deeper than any wound you've carried. Maybe you've tried to dismiss it, to explain it away as wishful thinking or coincidence, but the truth will not let you go. Heaven's voice is stubborn and personal. Why? Because the mark is not earned, it's a birthright. Before you ever prayed your first prayer, before you failed, before you succeeded, God had already called you by name and stamped eternity onto your existence. That's why you keep feeling this invisible tug. You are one in a million, not because you are perfect, but because God's love is relentless. This mark is an invitation to stop measuring yourself by your mistakes or your scars. It's a call to see yourself through the lens of divine favor. Your struggles, your setbacks, even your secrets have all been woven into a tapestry that sets you apart for a reason only heaven fully knows. Jeremiah 31:3 says, "I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness." You cannot outrun this love, nor hide from this call. The world tells you to be ordinary, to fit in, to settle, but the mark on your left hand refuses to let you stay hidden or small. This is not about being proud or feeling superior. It is about surrendering to the reality that your life has meaning, purpose, and a sacred assignment. So what will you do with this knowledge? Will you ignore the sacred discomfort, or will you let it become the fuel that drives you to step out of the ordinary and embrace the spiritual destiny carved into your being? When you look at your left hand tonight, will you finally accept that God has written your name into His story, and nothing, not your doubts, not your past, not the world's expectations, can erase what heaven has marked as chosen? When was the last time you looked at your life and dared to believe that things could truly change, not just for someone else, but for you? Have you grown so used to disappointment that you stopped expecting breakthrough? Or have you secretly clung to the hope that your story isn't finished? The truth is, the mark on your left hand is not a decoration for the worthy or a badge for the perfect. It is a signal that your life is about to be radically transformed by the God who writes new stories out of broken chapters. This is not a theoretical idea or some distant theology. It's a living promise. God has a track record of stepping into impossible situations and making a way where there is none. You, chosen one, are standing at the edge of a new beginning, whether you feel ready or not. The world may have tried to put you in a box defined by your mistakes or your lack, but heaven is tearing up every label that's kept you small. Jeremiah 29:11 rings out like an anthem. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Do you hear it? This is not a vague encouragement. It is a direct word from the one who saw your end before your beginning. The mark on your left hand is a divine declaration that the old cycles of defeat, scarcity, and disappointment end here. You were not meant to survive in survival mode. God's plan is not for you to merely get by, but to live in abundance, joy, and power. Can you sense the shift? Doors that were welded shut by fear and failure are now swinging open. Opportunities you thought were lost are returning. The ashes of your past are being traded for beauty and purpose. But here's the hard truth. The promise attached to the mark on your left hand requires your participation. It demands that you look beyond what you see with your eyes and trust what heaven has spoken over your life. Will you dare to believe that the Creator's plan for you is not just good, but breathtakingly better than anything you've known? Will you let go of your old story and step into the promise of divine transformation? Chosen one, this is your crossroad. Either you continue living by the old rules of disappointment, or you answer the call to step into a life that only God could design. The question remains, will you let the mark on your left hand become the turning point, the place where you say, I will not settle, I will not shrink back, I will walk into my promised future? What if every time you glanced at your left hand, it was more than a subconscious habit? It was heaven reminding you that your life carries a sacred responsibility. Have you ever considered that the mark you carry is not a free pass to comfort, but a commission to live righteously and become a vessel of blessing? This is the dividing line between self-centered faith and true divine calling. You are not chosen to collect blessings and hide them, but to let your life overflow so that others may see God's generosity through you. The world will tell you to look out for yourself, to hoard, to make sure you win, but the mark on your left hand interrupts that selfish script. It is a silent but stubborn witness, reminding you that to be chosen is also to be responsible, to let your actions become living evidence of God's goodness. Galatians 6:9 urges, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Righteousness is not about perfection. It is about persistence, about showing up every day and choosing kindness even when you have every excuse not to. The true weight of your mark is measured not in what you receive, but in how faithfully you respond when given opportunities to love, serve, and uplift. Each act of goodness multiplies the blessings tied to your destiny. Each moment you resist the urge to live small or selfishly, the power of your mark intensifies, drawing a flow of abundance through your life that cannot be contained. And when the world wonders why your life seems so inexplicably favored, the answer will never be found in your talent or your strategy, but in your willingness to surrender your story to a higher purpose. The truth is, the mark on your left hand is a call to become the kind of person who leaves people better than you found them, whose presence speaks louder than your words, whose integrity builds bridges, whose faith opens doors for others. So, will you choose to live righteously, to act with courage and compassion, to extend your hand to those in need, not because it's convenient, but because it's the only way to honor the mark heaven has entrusted to you? When you are tempted to give up or grow weary, will you remember that your harvest is coming, that your legacy will be measured not by what you took, but by what you gave? The next time you look at your left hand, let it be your reminder. To whom much is given, much is required. Will you rise to the responsibility, or will you waste the favor you were born to carry? Have you ever wondered why, despite all odds, you keep surviving storms that would have drowned others? Why doors you thought were bolted shut suddenly creak open? Why opportunities emerge from the very ashes of your disappointments? Let me ask you, could it be that the favor of God is not some abstract blessing, but a tangible force that intervenes for those marked by heaven? The mark on your left hand is not just a symbol to admire. It is a living covenant of protection, guidance, and supernatural favor that cannot be manufactured or replicated. Psalm 23:1 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." That means when you are truly chosen, lack can no longer hold you hostage, and fear loses its grip over your future. The world may look at your life and see coincidence, luck, or mere resilience. But what they don't see is the invisible shield surrounding you, the gentle hand of God redirecting, restoring, and rescuing you time after time. You were never meant to just survive. You are called to flourish under divine protection, to stand unshaken when the world trembles, to walk with a quiet confidence born not of arrogance, but of knowing who covers your life. It is the mark on your left hand that speaks louder than your credentials, your resources, or your plans. When the enemy tries to convince you that your past disqualifies you from a blessed future, look again at your left hand and remember, you are covered, you are guided. You are proof that God's goodness is not a theory, but a testimony written in the chapters of your own life. Do not let the world steal your wonder or your sense of destiny. You are being preserved for purpose, kept safe so your story can reflect God's victory, not just your survival. So here is the call. Will you live small, letting fear and doubt dictate your path? Or will you walk boldly in the reality that you are divinely protected and unconditionally favored? The next time you see a door swing open that you could not have unlocked yourself, pause and ask, what would change if I truly believed God is not just with me, but for me, and that nothing can separate me from His favor, not even my darkest night? What if your life was never meant to be hidden in the shadows or lost in the noise, but intentionally crafted to shine as a living testimony, an undeniable example of what happens when heaven's mark is upon a soul? Have you ever sensed that the transformation in you was not just for you, but so the world could witness God's power at work in real time? There's a reason why people notice a change in your confidence, your peace, your unshakable joy. It isn't about self-improvement or hype, but about the light of God radiating through your actions, your words, your very presence. The mark on your left hand is not for boasting. It is a commission to become a beacon that draws others to the source of all goodness. Matthew 5:16 urges, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." This is more than a suggestion. It's a prophetic charge to live so boldly, so brightly, that your life becomes a compass pointing people to faith, hope, and love. When you allow God's light to shine through your scars and victories, you become proof that no darkness is too deep for His redemption. The world is starving for authenticity, for something real in an age of imitation. When you walk with the mark, you carry a hope that's contagious, a peace that's unexplainable, a kindness that disrupts cynicism and draws out the hunger for the divine in others. You may never know who is watching, who is being changed simply by seeing you persevere, forgive, or choose joy in adversity. The truth is, your mark isn't just your story. It is God's invitation for others to believe for their own breakthrough. Will you play small and keep your light under a basket? Or will you accept the prophetic assignment to become a living testimony, a walking signpost of God's goodness in a weary world? The next time you feel ordinary, remind yourself, you are called to be a living story, not a hidden one. Your influence is a ripple that can ignite revival. So what will you choose, to blend in and fade out, or to stand up and let heaven's light spill from your life for all to see? Have you ever wondered why, the closer you get to breakthrough, the more resistance you face? Why doubt suddenly screams louder when you dare to step out in faith? Or why opposition appears just as you begin to rise? This is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. Quite the opposite. The mark on your left hand attracts attention, not just from heaven, but from every force that wishes you would shrink back into silence and mediocrity. Being chosen does not mean a life without battle. It means you are called to fight battles that matter, with a promise of victory that the world cannot steal. Ephesians 6:11 commands, "Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes." The enemy will do everything to plant seeds of doubt, to tempt you to give up, to convince you that your mark is imaginary or irrelevant. But the truth is, every time you choose faith over fear, every time you resist the urge to quit, you activate the supernatural protection tied to your divine identity. You are not a target because you are weak. You are a target because you are dangerous to darkness. The trials you face are not punishments. They are proof that your calling is real, your mark is recognized, and your destiny is a threat to the status quo. It's easy to lose heart when the struggle intensifies. But remember, your mark is also your shield. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." You were born to outlast opposition, to see weapons forged against you shatter at your feet. The enemy may try to dim your light, but your perseverance turns pressure into diamonds. Your courage ignites hope for others who watch you stand unbroken. So what will you do when the battle comes? Will you back down at the first sign of resistance? Or will you rise, put on your armor, and declare, "I am chosen, I am protected, and I will not be denied my destiny"? This is your moment to fight with faith, to advance with assurance that heaven fights for you. The next time you feel surrounded, remember, you are not alone on the battlefield. Heaven's armies move at the sound of your faith. Will you let fear drive you to retreat, or will you let your mark remind you that you were born to conquer, not to run? Have you ever considered that the blessings tied to your life were never meant to end with you? What if the prosperity, wisdom, and breakthrough that come to you are actually meant to flow through you, becoming rivers of life for those around you? The mark on your left hand is not just a sign of favor, it is a divine channel, a conduit for the abundance of heaven to move from your story into the world's desperate need. Luke 6:38 proclaims, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." That promise is not a spiritual lottery. It's an invitation into a life where generosity activates supernatural supply. You are chosen not to hoard, but to share, not to collect, but to circulate. The resources, the wisdom, the joy that come your way are seeds meant to be sown, not stored. When you bless, lift, or encourage others, you multiply what God can do through you and around you. This is the mystery of the divine mark. As you pour out, heaven keeps refilling you. As you give, more is entrusted to your care. The world trains you to cling tightly, to guard what little you have, to fear running out. But heaven's economy is reversed. Release unlocks overflow, generosity guarantees return, and sharing guarantees increase. What would happen if you stopped seeing your life as a reservoir to protect and started living as a river to flow? Would the people around you find hope, help, and healing in the overflow of your faith, your kindness, your wealth? Chosen one, you are not simply blessed for your own sake, you are blessed to become a blessing. Each time you resist the urge to retreat into scarcity and instead step out in faith and generosity, you activate a divine cycle of abundance that cannot be stopped. So the next time you sense an urge to give, your time, your encouragement, your resources, pause and realize you are being invited into a higher reality. Will you remain a container, content to just be filled? Or will you become a channel, letting heaven's blessings surge through your life, transforming not just your story, but the stories of countless others? Who will be changed because you chose to let the river flow? What if I told you that every small act of faith, every time you choose to believe instead of doubt, to give instead of withhold, to speak life instead of negativity, was actually amplifying a current of divine energy in your life? Have you realized that heaven responds not to the size of your resources, but to the size of your response? The mark on your left hand is not just a reminder of identity, it is a declaration of your authority to partner with God, to shape reality by your alignment with His Word. Psalm 8:6 declares, "You made them rulers over the works of your hands. you put everything under their feet. This isn't just poetic language, it's a spiritual reality waiting for you to step into. So many live as if they are powerless bystanders in their own story, when in truth you are a co-creator, called to command blessings, overcome obstacles, and walk boldly in the authority of heaven. Authority isn't about domination, it's about stewardship, about carrying the responsibility to steward influence, resources, and opportunities with wisdom and love. Consider Joseph, a man betrayed, enslaved, and forgotten. Yet because he carried God's favor, he rose from the pit to the palace. Genesis 41:41-43. Your divine mark is assurance that you too are destined to rise, to turn every setback into a stage for God's glory. But here's the question. Are you willing to take ownership of your authority, or will you keep waiting for permission from a world that never wanted you to realize your power? Heaven is inviting you to act, to believe bigger, to pray bolder, to declare out loud what God has already whispered to your spirit. When you stop shrinking and start amplifying the divine energy within you, doors begin to open, impossible situations begin to shift, and what you once called lack becomes overflow. Every choice you make to align with God's truth multiplies the force of your authority. So will you continue playing small, afraid to own your calling, reluctant to release your voice, hesitant to wield the authority you've been given? Or will you step up, raise your faith, and amplify the divine current heaven is waiting to send through your life? The next time you doubt yourself, remember, you have authority not because of your history, but because of His mark on your life. Will you use it, or will you let it go unused, letting the world miss out on the blessing you were born to release? Have you paused to imagine what kind of legacy your life is leaving behind? What if your divine mark was never meant to be a solitary distinction, but a generational promise, an inheritance of blessing, wisdom, and faith flowing through your lineage? The world measures legacy by status or possessions, but heaven counts it by love, faithfulness, and the echo of lives changed through your impact. The mark on your left hand isn't just about you rising above your own struggles. It's a sacred guarantee that, like Joseph in Scripture, your faithfulness through adversity will set the stage for breakthroughs not just for you, but for those who follow. Genesis 41:41-43 tells of Joseph's ascent from the lowest pit to the palace, not only for his own sake, but for the survival and flourishing of generations. Your gratitude for the mark, your willingness to thank God not just for triumphs, but for every trial, is the key that unlocks more miracles. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 commands, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." Thankfulness is not a feeling. It is a spiritual discipline that magnetizes heaven's resources toward your life. Each time you choose to thank God for the small, you prepare yourself for the overflow. Your legacy is written in every act of generosity, every moment of kindness, every time you forgive when it would be easier to hold a grudge. The mark on your left hand is a living testimony, a light that draws others not to your story, but to God's glory. Proverbs 3:3-4 declares, "Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man." Imagine a life so marked by love and faithfulness that favor flows through your family, your friendships, your work, and your community. Will you settle for a legacy that fades with your name, or will you build one that multiplies with every person you touch? The next time you feel unseen or ordinary, remember, your mark is not just for today, but for the generations coming after you. What story will your life tell, and what inheritance will your faith leave for those who come next? Have you grown tired of being told to settle, to shrink your vision, to accept the world's idea of enough? What if the mark on your left hand is a permanent rejection of every limitation, every lie that says you are destined for lack or mediocrity? The truth is, you were born for overflow, not just to survive, but to thrive, to model a life that is so evidently blessed that it forces others to reconsider what's possible with God. John 10:10 declares, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." You are not at the mercy of circumstances or the opinions of others. You are marked by God for a life that overflows with provision, opportunity, and joy. Yes, challenges will come, and there will be seasons of waiting, but lack is not your destiny. Supernatural abundance is. When the world says, hold back, God says, pour out. When fear says, there isn't enough, heaven says, test me and see if I will not open the floodgates. Malachi 3:10 makes it clear, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. Why live in scarcity when heaven has destined you for generosity, for multiplication, for a legacy of giving? The supernatural life is not an accident. It is your inheritance as one marked and chosen. Will you keep measuring your future by your history, or will you believe that every resource of heaven is available to those who dare to believe? The mark on your left hand is a summons to step into overflow, to think, give, and dream beyond the boundaries you've accepted. So, what would your life look like if you truly expected abundance? If you prayed, planned, and acted as though every promise of God was already written across your hand? Will you allow small thinking, fear, or the disappointments of the past to dictate your expectation? Or will you let the supernatural become your new normal? The next time you look at your left hand, remind yourself, I am not marked for lack. I am marked for more. Will you live beneath your calling, or will you finally rise and embrace the overflow that's been waiting for you all along? What if every hesitation you felt, every time you shrank from a dream or played small to please others, was actually a battle over your destiny? The mark on your left hand is not just a symbol of potential. It is your permission slip to step fully into everything God has dreamed for you. You are not here to blend in or apologize for your light. You were created to stand out, to live with courage that calls others higher, to walk a path so saturated with faith that fear has no choice but to flee. Isaiah 61 proclaims, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. There will always be voices, internal and external, that urge you to shrink, to hide your calling, to accept just enough when heaven's plan is overflowing. But each time you remember the mark on your left hand, you are reminded that God's glory is not an abstract concept. It is a present reality, a mantle you are meant to wear. Boldness isn't reckless bravado. It's obedient confidence that moves even when the outcome isn't clear, that stands tall in rooms where you once felt too small. Living boldly is refusing to let your story be defined by yesterday's pain or today's uncertainty, but by the unchanging truth of God's promises. Philippians 4:13 testifies, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. When you accept that your capacity comes not from your own striving, but from the power flowing through your divine mark, you are unstoppable. You inspire others not just by your words, but by the permission your courage gives them to rise too. So I challenge you, will you spend another year second-guessing your significance? Or will you finally rise and step out with the kind of faith that causes the world to take notice? When doubt whispers you're too ordinary, hold up your left hand and declare, I am marked by God, I am called. I am chosen to live boldly and fulfill my divine destiny. The time for shrinking is over. The world needs your light, your courage, your obedience. Will you step into it, or will you hide the glory you were born to reveal?